Welcome to Minnesota Insight. My name is Eric Holash. Today we have a very special guest for you. He is an architect, he is one of the founders of Preserve Minneapolis, and he is one of our very own University of Minnesota alumni. Please welcome Mr. Bob Roscoe.
Oh, thank you very much, Eric.
Nice to have you here tonight.
Well, I'm looking forward to this.
Me too. So, today's topic is Dinkytown in transition. You first arrived in Dinkytown in 1960.
Right.
How have you seen Dinkytown transform and evolve over the years?
Well, Eric, it's both transformed and it stayed the same. What's transformed is that I can remember some of the shops that when I was a university student that I went to, I depended on Dinkytown for everything I needed. And a lot of those shops, almost all, aren't there anymore. Vecchio's is the only one. But what stayed the same is that I came from a small town in northern Minnesota, and when a couple days later, after I set my suitcases down in the dorm, I heard about Dinkytown. I walked there, and it was that small town again that I was used to. And it still has that characteristic. And I think what's important is that fact that it has maintained its small town character is why it has a sense of history that needs to be protected and preserved.
I've heard you say the phrase, history is the record of change.
That's right. And that's what happened. The stores changed. A lot of things changed. There's just some small aspects of the character that changed, but the main small town character is still there. And that's, I believe in historic preservation, but I don't believe in architectural taxidermy. so I think that's how history can change.
Of course. Recently, a lot of luxury apartments have been built around Dinkytown, and also Doran Company has proposed a hotel that's 13 stories tall that will be built in the center of Dinkytown. Do you think that this is just another part of that evolution that you were talking about, or is this something different?
It's definitely something different, but the question, I think, is, does something like that destroy the character? And it maybe a little bit does, but it's part of what happens with change. So I think the one building like that is okay, I'll use that term. But what might it invite? Would it invite others to follow it? I do have a concern that that is going to happen. And then at some point, there's this expression about, does it die by 1,000 cuts? Well, maybe it dies by 10 cuts.
Okay. Now, moving on, in that same vein of issues, would you say that progress versus preservation, is that a mutually exclusive? Are those both mutually exclusive, or could they both occur at the same time?
I really hate that phrase, just who I am, progress versus preservation, because good preservation is good progress, and good progress can be preservation. Preservation provides a pattern for the future. That's what its main thing is. Again, things don't stay the same, and they shouldn't.
Yeah.
And I think that but it has been, I think there's so many issues that I've seen in historic preservation that come up, and sooner or later, someone's going to say, well, it's a case of progress versus preservation, and it isn't. There's some cases at 2320 Colfax near the Healy Historic District that the Star Tribune called that progress versus preservation. It's not true.
Okay. Now, if there's one key takeaway that the audience can take away from this, what would it be?
I think that the takeaway is that what's unique about Dinkytown and why it has a historic character that is really important for the city is that there aren't any small towns encapsulated within the city grid, the larger urban grid like Dinkytown. There's 43rd and Upton. It's a cute place. It's changing too. There's other small corners and intersections. There's parts of northeast Minneapolis that have a congregation of small shops and so on. But Dinkytown has it in such of a wonderful, concise, defined entity, and that's what I think we need to preserve in cities. And the mechanism to preserve these is finding ways with zoning and other land use controls to make these areas thrive and live by how the city and the residents and the business council and so on, how they can say, we've got something unique here and we need to maintain it.
Okay, that was very well put. Thank you for your time. Unfortunately, we are out of it. This is Bob Roscoe, everybody.
Eric.
Wonderful conversation with you.
Well, this is great. I enjoyed doing it. So
I did as well.
okay.
My name is Eric Kolash. Minnesota Insight out.